Thanks to Card Market for sponsoring this video.
Hi there, welcome to the Familiar Podcast, where we'll be discussing leveling up your game in Pauper. I'm Peter, and I'm here with March from StrataGames. And today, what we'll be discussing is finding the right deck, or finding your deck. So, to start this out, I wanted to bring up a quote from our last podcast, which was from David, which was that you need to know the meta in order to beat the meta. And along those lines, how does that influence you picking a deck?
Yeah, I think that you need to be aware of what other people are playing for you to know what you should be playing. There's nothing wrong with picking a deck that you just enjoy, but if you pick a deck that happens to be really bad against everything that your friends at your LGS are playing, it's probably not going to be very, heartwarming if you're losing all the time, and that might not be. You might think that's due to skill or, you're playing badly or whatever, but it could just be that you picked the wrong deck. And so it's important to be able to identify that and start strong with, picking a deck that's actually going to do well in your meta.
Yeah. So you've been playing Pauper for, is it been a year or two?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And what did you start with in Pauper?
I started playing with Golgari Gardens, which is a great lesson for a deck you should not start with. I just picked a deck that I thought looked interesting. I love drawing cards. I do like control decks. And so I felt like it was going to fit my play style. Black is also my favorite color in Magic. So I figured that there were a lot of things going for me. But the problem with picking a deck like Gardens or really any control deck is that you are reacting to what your opponents are going to be doing. You're almost always going to be the slower player, the one who's waiting for the opponent to do something so you can stop them and then take advantage of that. But if you're just joining the meta, you don't know what you're trying to stop. You don't know what your opponent's cards are going to be playing for sideboarding. You don't know what to bring in. Of course, that's always a difficult thing, but you can't control what you don't know and what you don't understand. And so I think the most important thing with picking a deck is to try to pick a deck that has a proactive game plan of some sort. That can be an aggro deck, that could be a combo deck, that could be it could be a mid-range deck. Probably not a control deck for the most part, but you have a wide variety. There's no restriction on colors or anything that you could play, but you really want to pick something that has a clear game plan that you can execute, and you don't specifically need to worry about what your opponent is doing to be able to win the game.
Exactly. So again, coming back to that quote, you need to know the meta before you can beat the meta. But while that quote is very powerful, there are certain decks you can get around it a little bit. Right. So like you were saying, for example, an aggressive deck, usually the way I think about it is there's decks that try to answer your opponent's deck, and there's decks that make your opponent try to answer you. And those decks where your opponent's responsible for answering you, this tends to be aggro decks, sometimes combo type decks, can be a good starting point when you're breaking into a new format, where you don't understand the meta, or if you're already in the meta and you're going to a new store and you don't know what their meta is going to be. But I think there can be a lot of value in starting there. Where did you find your first deck? Like, how did you find Gilgari Gardens and you're like, yeah, this is the one, I'm going to give it a go?
I think I just looked it up on like MTG Goldfish or something. Whether you're looking at that or MTG decks or top 8 or anything like that, they can give you a pretty clear idea of the best 5 or 10 decks or whatever. Usually I would suggest starting with one of the top decks. It doesn't have to be the number one deck, but some deck that other players have tried and tested and is good enough to win some games, so that even if you don't know exactly what you're doing and you don't know the meta and everything, you know that you have been given the tool to win the game. And so, so I just found it online and decided to pull that list. And it was, it's not the best one to start with, but that's okay.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to realize that you wanted to switch it up? Switch to a new deck, try something different, that it wasn't working for you? Like, how long should you stick with the deck, you think?
I think it definitely differs for different people. As long as I stuck with the deck, I mean, I still sometimes play Golgari Gardens. It's not one of my main decks, but it's probably just below that. But I was playing that deck for probably 3 or 4 months before I started finding some other decks. That was in part, I think something that a lot of people can relate to, because I just couldn't afford other decks, both online and in paper. It was just Pauper's a very budget friendly format for the most part, but that doesn't mean it's free entirely. And so once I started feeling like the deck was not getting boring, but just, I wanted to see what else was out there. It was a lot of the same play patterns and things like that. That's kind of when I decided that I was going to switch to some other decks.
And along those lines, the finding that you're not successful with a deck, I think, is just a normal part of playing Magic. A lot of times I hear from people, hey, if you want to find your best deck, then go play a bunch of decks that you've never played before and that are in widely different areas, and see which one kind of rings true or which one kind of sticks well. And I think there's some truth to that advice. I think there's a lot of value in playing other decks, but I find more often than not, the discovery of new decks for me is almost always facing them down against my opponent. When I am playing against a deck that really scares me or crushes me, the first thing I think about is, one, how do I beat that deck? And two, maybe I should be playing that deck. So I think there's a lot to learn from other players, but we talk about finding a deck, and I think there's a lot of value in like being really comfortable with a deck. For me, that comfortability is in elves. I feel the most comfortable with my elves deck. I can always come back to it. It's my tried and true. But I think there's also a lot of value and not having just a deck, but a armory of decks. How many decks do you think it's worth having in your armory?
Yeah, I think you're going to get more out of having more decks for sure. I think there's nothing wrong with taking your one deck if you build Mono Red Madness. That's the deck that you enjoy, or maybe just the deck you think you can do the best with to learn the format. If that's the one deck that you have, there's nothing wrong with taking that to your LGS every single week and seeing how it goes. But that deck, like most decks, has some weaknesses. So if you go up against, if two of the people at your LGS are playing Mono White Heroic and one and Bogles, those are two decks that usually are going to beat Mono Red Madness. And so if you find that, every week you get paired against at least one of them and you pretty much always lose that match, well, that's when it's good to have other decks to rotate to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be nice to have, two or three different decks. I would say three decks is all you really need to have enough, assuming you're choosing decks that have different strengths and weaknesses, enough decks to rotate between that you're not always going to be, unfavored against every single opponent. But the more decks you have, if you can afford to build it out or just share with friends or proxy, whatever you're able to do, the more you'll be able to play different decks and be able to show off something different each time you go to the LGS.
Yeah. There was a time where I was running elves every week for, I think, maybe like 6, 7 weeks. And the deck got worse and worse. And I was like, man, why is my deck getting worse and worse? And it was the realization when my opponent, I think in like week 5 or 6, pulled out like 3 Drown in Sorrows and like 3 Arms of Hadar from sideboard in their Gardens deck that they put in because they knew they were going to be paired up against me at some point. And prepared for my elves deck. So I think there's a lot of value, especially if you're in a local meta and you're looking at leveling up your play in your local meta, is to keep your opponents at your local meta on their toes as well. So being proficient in a couple of decks that you can hop around from can bring a lot of success. So I think after that 7 week stint, I switched to, I want to say it was Mono Red Burn, which is vastly different than than elves. And actually a lot of my opponents afterwards mentioned that they had taken out their, because Burn wasn't super represented at the store. We have one player that will usually bring Burn, but at the time they were running Gates. And so they had actually pulled out their Burn protection in their sideboard and partially to deal with elves, and then they were not ready to be run over by Burn. And that was my realization after I went 3-0, that it is good to be flexible. But yeah, local meta, right? There's value in that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in being unpredictable. I think is the
Mm-hmm.
big thing you're mentioning, is that if you show up every single week with the exact same deck, there's someone at RLGS who he plays pretty much every format under the sun, but he has one deck for each format that he plays. And so every time I play against him, I know he's going to be bringing Gruul monsters. And so I've played against him like 6 times or something, and every single
Mm-hmm.
time it's the same deck. And so I know that if he's going to be there, that's what he's going to be playing. And so I can, like you said, tech for that in my sideboard which I should be doing. If I know I'm going to be playing against the same, rough 8 or 12 people, I should absolutely be changing my sideboard to accommodate that and to take advantage of that. But then it's on them to not be predictable, or you if
Mm-hmm.
you're that person. And so yeah, you can lose a lot of points by playing the exact same deck if people know exactly what you're going to be on and can play around it.
I come back to my elves deck over and over again because I love elves. And going to a large tournament at different points in the meta, because if you're watching the meta cycle closely, there's some pretty big shifts that occur and what's the best decks in Pauper and what are the most likely to be brought to large tournaments. And for example, if I'm running elves and I know that the most likely deck to be brought to a tournament is going to be Mono Red Madness, which maybe a little bit less than it has been, but still very prominent. It's a terrible matchup. Like as an elves player, you maybe have a 15 to 20% chance of winning, and that's if your sideboard is totally built to beat them. So if I am just limited to elves and I'm looking at going to a tournament, I think that if I know there's going to be a lot of mono red madness at a tournament, I'm basically accepting that I'm unlikely to win that tournament. I really don't have a shot, and I'm really locked into a corner. Um, how many decks are you really comfortable with? Like, what are your decks that are top meta decks that you really have to decide when you're going to a larger tournament?
Yeah, I will say before I forget, to your point about if you bring elves to a large tournament, and Mono Red Madness is going to be there, it's just tough to win that. I will say there's also something to be said about just kind of playing the matchup lottery, people call it. Mono Red Madness has been very prevalent in the meta for a year or two, and elves has still done pretty good work. Of course, the meta percentage of even the highest decks in Pauper is usually 10 to 15%, which
Mm-hmm.
is only about 1 in 8 to 10 players. So if you do play elves, you might get lucky and just not go up against mono red at all if you're at a bigger tournament, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the meta that you're really aiming for.
No, that's a really good point.
But to your question, how many decks do I play that I'm very proficient in the top of the meta? I would say like tier 1 or 2, I probably play 4 or 5 different decks that like I could feel comfortable taking to a tournament and doing well with. For me right now, I think that would be Dimir Fairies, Jund Wildfire, White Weenie, and Black Sack. I think are both lower than those two. They're probably more tier 2, 2.5s or something like that. But they're also decks that I have taken to larger tournaments. And then, I guess that might be it. Those 4.
How do you pick a deck for a tournament then?
Yeah, it's a lot of vibes, I would say. There's something to be said for the last minute swap right before you're heading out to change to something else. But I think that you want to look at all the decks that you are proficient in, and then all the decks that are good enough in the meta that I would say you could reasonably see those decks winning the tournament. So, I like, Black Sack, White Weenie. They're not necessarily the highest, the best decks that I could be playing, but they're also very strong with the right matchups and playing correctly and everything. You could absolutely take down a bigger tournament with those. And so take a look at all of those decks. So if I take those 4 decks that I mentioned, and then the top 4 decks in the meta right now, I would say are probably Mono Red Madness, Jund Wildfire, Grixis Affinity, and Elves, at least in like the US meta, based maybe partially on like the Pauper Genesis meta from a month or 2 ago. But I think that the overlap there of the decks that I play would suggest that I should probably take Jund Wildfire, honestly. And so that is a deck that I heavily considered when I was prepping for some of the recent tournaments that I've been. But I don't know. Sometimes you just have a bad feeling about a deck, I guess. And so I do think trusting your gut is an important thing. Sometimes it's just not the time to be playing a certain deck. And I think that there's a lot of just practicing, like making sure that you practice the deck well enough. So like these are the decks that I know in general very well, but if I haven't played one of them in a month or 2 and I haven't stayed up to date on it, like the meta shifts like slowly but surely. Like if you don't pay attention for a month or 2, there will be some pretty significant differences in the meta. And so it's important, I think, to re-familiarize yourself with any deck that you might be thinking about taking to like a larger tournament. And so again, for Pauper Genesis, I looked at White Weenie, I looked at Black Sack, I looked at Jund Wildfire, and just none of them did I think that they were going to be quite right for that. And so I ended up landing on Dimir Fairies, which is, I would say, other than Jund Wildfire, I already mentioned, in the Venn diagram of decks that I know really well and decks that I think were doing well in the meta. Dimir Fairies has been on a bit of an upswing, I would say, the last couple of months. Before that, it wasn't super prevalent in the meta for probably a year or so. And so I think trying to, of course, if you play more decks, it's going to be easier to have decks that you are good at that are also good in the meta, because not every deck is going to be good in the meta all the time. Elves might be good now, and so maybe that's one you'd feel comfortable taking to a bigger tournament. But if Mono Red Madness grows to 20 or 25% in the meta or something like that, then maybe it's one that you're not as comfortable with, you know.
I think sometimes we do get caught up in the meta. Kind of back to that point of, but really, like you were just saying, the most important part is being comfortable with a deck. Um, and knowing your matchups. Again, not knowing the meta in that, like, what matchups you're going to be paired up against, but knowing the meta in the sense that you know a deck well enough that you know what to do in your different matchups. So, for example, the last larger tournament that I went to, I did bring elves, and I had the understanding that there was a good chance that there was going to be a good bit of mono red madness, and that I would, if I ran into mono red madness, I would probably lose, and that's just is what it is. But my conclusion that I drew is I was confident enough with elves that I could know what to do in just about every matchup. Now, again, someone brings in a strange brew. That all goes out the window, and that's brewer's advantage. But there's so much value in being comfortable with a deck. And again, if you're looking at leveling up your game, if you have an armory of decks that you're comfortable with and you know how they play in the meta and you're confident in how they play in the meta, then you can start kind of that. I think then the next step is to start evaluating, like, okay, what deck am I going to bring to these tournaments? How am I going to kind of beat the meta that I'm entering into? But first and foremost is comfortability with a deck. How do you become comfortable with a deck?
I think that practice is the big thing. You got to know how to play the deck. There's a lot you can gain by talking about a deck and theory and everything like that. And I think that is a big part of it too. But you simply must play the deck a lot, because you're not going to know what the right call is. Like, should I cast this spell or should I leave up a counter spell or whatever up against this opponent in this situation? You know, Mono Red Madness, when I'm at 9 life, can I afford to tap out? Things like that. You're not going to know unless you've been in that situation. And then if you've been in that situation multiple times, because if you're in it just once, then, well, maybe that time they get lucky and they pull ahead, or they get unlucky. But if you've been in that situation 10 times or 20 times or 30 times, then suddenly you've started to build up some history where it's like, well, I know, you know, even if you don't meticulously note down every single match you play, you might know in general, oh, I know that this, you know, at this stage, usually I lose from here when I tap out. And so I should always hold up the counterspell here or something like that. And so I think there's nothing going to be better than just playing the deck over and over and over. But then also there is a lot of value to be gained by talking with other players. Find some players who have played the deck as well. Ideally, players who have played and who are better than you, because they'll have a lot more insight into the deck. I think, I'm sure many people have said this across Magic and other games, but like the best way you can learn is by playing against people who are better players. If you're playing with all people who are worse than you, then you're not going to be learning as much. That doesn't mean that they can't give you any insight, but if you're playing with people who are better players than you, then they're going to constantly be opening your eyes to things that you hadn't seen previously.
So yeah, finding that deck, finding what you can get comfortable with, what you can practice with. Content can be really valuable as well. Some of the most progress I've made with decks is actually just watching some of the best players play those decks, either on YouTube or on Twitch stream. Yeah, there was this one player that was really good at Mono Black Sack that really helped me be comfortable with the deck. But I don't remember who it is anymore. No, it was,
No idea.
no, yeah, it was really helpful watching your videos on Mono Black Sack to become comfortable with Mono Black Sack. But there's so much content out there, and especially if you're picking a top meta deck, there's so much opportunity to learn. For example, watching Skura play Mono Blue Fairies. I was playing Mono Blue Fairies at my store. I was doing okay with it. Watch him play, and it's beyond my understanding. The decisions that he makes, just the comfortability that he has with that deck. I just learn so much every time I watch him play. There's just so much to learn from the content that's online. Obviously, again, friends, the gathering, it's even more fun to learn that way. Getting on spell table with some friends, and playing out some games and just running some practice games can be really valuable, or in person, meeting up at the store could be really awesome. It's hard to get enough practice in just going to like your weekly tournaments. If you're really trying to level up your game, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but getting more and more opportunities to play and practice with people, but then also reviewing those decks online. What are some other areas that you kind of reach to grow in your deck playing abilities?
Yeah, I would say based on like kind of what you mentioned, like the gathering that can obviously be physically, but also online. You can find a Discord. All across the U.S. There are regional Discords. I'm sure all across the world that you can join, where there are people who are looking to play more Pauper, but also just talk about more Pauper, throw out ideas for brews. There's Discords for just about every deck in Pauper, like deck specific Discord servers that you can find that are all about trying to improve with that deck, showing off like the latest tech, how well people did at different tournaments based on the meta, like all this different stuff. And so I think, I guess, being in the know, just being aware of what everyone is trying out, and talking with other people about what you can do to improve the deck and your play is definitely going to help you a lot too.
So yeah, I highly recommend that if you're running a deck and you're not sure if that's the right deck, it's fine. It's fine to switch decks, try different decks, but you can also stick with a deck. I'd give it at least a little bit of time to see if you can kind of figure it out and kind of level up your game in that deck and see if it's a good fit. But if it's not, that's okay. That's why Pauper is so diverse. That's what makes it such a great format. That's why you can switch up decks, and try to build that armory to really develop a strong deck. Well, thanks for listening to the Familiar Podcast, and take care.
See you next time.
What are we playing here? Elves? Oh boy.
We're against your favorite elves. They've brought in spider silk armor, which makes it pretty
That's
difficult to
wild.
kill a lot of these creatures because I can't trade like one bird for them unless I'm double blocking. Um,
Okay.
it's in anticipation of a suffocating fumes, which I don't have yet, but also just blocks all my stuff. So
Yeah.
pretty interesting. I feel like I'm pretty like pretty severely in the driver's seat here, but like I can't really kill any of their elves, which is pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one snuff out here, but I'm kind of just waiting around for when I can slam this Thorn of the Black Rose.
Yeah. I can't tell. How many cards in hand do they have?
They have two. They're about to play a big Hydra on something. I do have the snuff out initially, but then Hydra's still going to be left behind
Yeah.
as
I
like a
feel like
5/6.
and they're pretty limited on their mana. I mean, they're running the it's funny to say 6 mana is limited, but a
Yeah,
plus
no
3,
Priest to
so
Titania here that would be giving him
yeah.
like making this a 20 power guy.
Yeah, so 8 mana. The
Six.
yeah, really you just need to avoid a winding way.
Right, which I guess I have a spell setter, but I don't have another fairy for. I can stuff this out to save 6. Um, I think that's probably fine, but then I don't have a kill spell for like if they get a Timberwatch elf. But I'm
Yeah,
gonna need to
I
kill
I
this at
would
some
keep
point
the
anyway.
snuff.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because I think your way to lose here is they run away with the game by top decking. Um, yeah, either a Timber
Yeah,
Watch.
draw spell into like Timberwatch or Priest or
Yeah,
something.
it would be rough.
Um, I agree,
And
and I can't
now you're going to
get
present a
an.
Death Toucher to block too.
Yeah, that helps with my high toughness. I was hoping to draw another kill spell or something or a fairy for this sprite. Um, the reach makes it so I can't get a ninja through, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they get like sloppy and just throw everything in, like I get to eat a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Hmm.
But I mean, you're the elves expert. Are you still playing Spider Silk Armor in
No,
2026?
I haven't seen Spider Silk Armor in a long time. Um, Man, they really uh, somebody playing Gardens really hurt them.
Yeah. I mean, it gets around and the festivities, and it allows you to block Snacker with everything. So is it good against
Yeah.
mono red?
So I'm when I run fairies, I still am running Sunken City,
Yeah. Okay.
which by we talked about Skura in this episode, and very against Sunken City. Well, understandably, not pretending that it's a good card, but um, it does play a similar role to Spider Silk, where you basically eliminate a majority of their removal by pumping all of your creatures. Their board wipe removal, and it can just be really extremely powerful. Okay, that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, I said get sloppy, and then I realized with snuff out I go to 3 here, so I don't know if it's actually sloppy on them. But I can double block here. I don't take anything from this, and I death touch their guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 8. 8 other guys. I'm trying to figure out before I go to blocks if I need to flash in spell stutter as a blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I double block here, this would only be 5 blockers to their 8 attackers, so they'll get in for 4, 3. But this guy's a 2 power guy.
Yeah, at that point, you're hard casting Snuff out if you get a counterfeit.
Yeah, which I might
And they're
have to,
playing
but
a 3/3 flyer next turn.
yeah, I guess I could just snuff this out, go to 3. I don't have to deal with this, and then I have 7 blockers, so they still get through, but just for 1, and I have 2 more guys to block. But because of this spider silk, I'm not actually killing almost anything. I'm only death touching down 1.
Right. And you're probably going for the Quarian.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess because they're going to untap something here. But if I kill this and they untap something, then they have 2 blockers, which is kind of a pain for taking back the Monarch. Although I guess if I'm at like 1 or 2, that might not be my biggest concern. This is a tough call. I think I should flash this in though. Yeah, so if I double block here, 5. Yeah, this is not a great spot.
Yeah.
I guess I make another bird. I wasn't.
They are also taking the Monarch.
They definitely are. Actually, wait.
Can
They're
you
not taking the Monarch actually because I forgot about the bird, so I'll have 8 blockers. So I actually can keep the Monarch here.
Yeah,
I
but you
think
are
that makes
losing all of your birds, right?
Yeah. So we'll see in blocks if I could let them take the Monarch in order to kill a couple extra creatures, which I might want to do. Is this block here? This block's here. So yeah, I could chump all 5, or I could like kill 2 Llanowar elves and go to 1 and give them the Monarch. If I chump everything, then I'm at 3. I only have 3 blockers left. I only kill one of their guys. Maybe Spider Silk Armor is the best thing in the world. It's killing me here.
Yes. I mean, it's not a bad card. The reason it's not great in elves is it is kind of opposed to the synergies of elves. That's at least what I feel about it. So like your best bet is if your sideboard is gatherable by things like Lead the Stampede and Winding Way. And that not being the case, it feels really bad sometimes. So you basically need to get in your opener or just naturally draw into it, which is just kind of rare.
Yeah.
I run into the same thing with like a what's the bow?
Viridian Longbow.
Viridian Longbow. But Viridian Longbow is so good in the mirror that you basically mull into it and you win the game.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Okay, so they did decide to untap.
Yeah, so I went for the letting them have the Monarch in exchange for killing 2 extra of their creatures. and keeping 2 of our birds around. I think that was the right call, but I could still definitely lose if I don't get something good here.
Yeah.
I guess I still have Arms of Hadar, which kills all their 2 toughness guys. So Arms is probably our best draw, or like Brainstorm into Arms. Oh well,
That's not
that's
bad.
interesting. I do get the Monarch back.
Yeah. Yeah, without even having to attack.
I
Plus,
mean,
like double blocking on that Hydra doesn't feel bad.
yeah. I mean, I think I probably just hardcast a Ninja for another blocker. I could draw a counter spell or a Snuff Out or something, but there's no guarantee, and I probably hard casting both of these ninjas, so I might as well get one down.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's good for next turn.
it's good for next turn. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't instant speed that, so that's
Right.
okay.
Now, until they play the second Whisper or Spider Silk.
Oh God.
Spider Silk Armor.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I generally think this matchup is even-ish. I would say it's a little favored for me because I have all the board wipes and the removal and stuff. But nowadays, there's hunters, there's Nyxborn Hydras, like there's a lot of stuff that doesn't die just to board wipes. So it's still always a very interesting match.
yeah, but you have the potential here to steal that.
The initiative?
Yeah.
How?
So you got 2 Reachers. You are gonna Arms of Hadar. What is that Hydra a 1/2?
Yes. Well, 1/3 with the Spider
Oh,
Silk.
1/3. Okay.
The problem is that they have all of their creatures have reach, right? So they have 5 reachers.
Oh shoot, I forgot that was part of the
You're
text.
forgetting the power of this card. So yeah, I can Arms of Hadar them, but I only wipe the creatures that are already tapped.
Yeah. So is the line to them block wrong and you Arms of Hadar and take their whole board?
That's often what I try to do with these. I was actually able to do that at Pauper Genesis in the 1K, where my opponent had a 2/3 Nyxborn Hydra and a 3/3 Saga. Maybe I mentioned this in the video. And they blocked 2 of my fairies that I also attacked with an augur to make it look like I was going for a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
And then they blocked, and then I was able to Arms of Hadar both of their big creatures and both their elves, and it just like blew them out and won me the game. Problem is their creatures here are too big. I could maybe get this Hydra within Arms plus a block, but this is a 2/5, this is a 1/4, this is a 5/7. I think no matter what, I'm starting with this augur and hoping it hits something good.
Yeah.
think
I mean, do you
cast
think they
down.
block your Death Touchers?
Ooh. Yeah, that's the question. Death Touchers are my best defensive weapons, but obviously they're pretty good against them. They probably don't. I will say I got this Extract, which is good enough to kill either the Hydra or the Hunter, so might as well cast it. We get another bird, so that is a good draw. And I'm gonna do the Arms of Hadar no matter what, but it is a good question if I should try to attack first.
Even attacking in with 1 Death Toucher, right? Do they have a block? Oh,
They can block with Vandal
double
and
block. Yeah.
Inspector, and I lose my guy. Yeah, I think I'm certainly attacking with 1 or 2 of them. I'm trying to think. I don't think I'm getting any value from doing this post combat.
Right.
Maybe this Hydra, so I should just do it now so that these are incapable of killing our guys.
Mm-hmm. That seems wise.
Yeah. And I'm doing it no matter what because I'm killing a bunch of their stuff. Okay, so now we're going to attacks. They still have a 3/5 Hydra, but that's going to trade with one of these if they want to do that. They'll probably block. I need to have enough toughness to not die to a Forge. This is 5/7, so it's going to be 7 power. So I have enough here. Everything's got reach. I could attack with 5 creatures and ensure that I get the initiative.
But then you're for sure losing it on the
pretty
rebound, right?
risky. Yeah. Oh, also, if I lose it, I lose the game. So, yeah, I don't think I can do that. I think it's just attacking with these 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, I imagine they block.
Yeah, I think they would, because if they get to the trap, they win the game. So they literally just have to hold it for 1 more turn, which we're going to need to stop them from doing. Bog doesn't do much.
Yes, because you do not have any enchantment creatures out right now.
Yeah, none in my deck at all. I'm not currently
Okay,
on Moon Circuit Hacker.
okay.
Actually, my physical list, I'm planning to put one in to test it because I know a lot of
Mm,
people have been playing one of them. We'll see
okay,
how
they're
that
playing the
goes.
defense,
They are again. They
which is
just need
great
to
for you.
hold trap and we lose the game. So I
Right.
have to attack with 4 creatures, and then I have to be able to block. So I should probably attack with the. I could just attack with 4
Yeah,
birds.
I would.
Yeah. I guess I also get to ninjutsu then.
That's true.
Maybe that's a reason to go with an augur.
And you're going to get a land. You'll still
The
get a
augurs have
draw
more
card at the end of
toughness.
turn.
Yeah. Yeah, the augurs are not getting through either way, and they have higher toughness. Yeah, I think I just go with 4 birds. So I'm going to lose every single one.
Yeah. But hopefully
But
you'll be able to make more by drawing a card here.
yes, and not dying, which is a good thing I've heard. This is a fun game.
Yeah, I feel like you're really close to turning the corner.
For sure. I agree. That doesn't help.
That does not help. You
I
still
mean, I'm
got the monarch draw.
okay right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of bringing this in, but I saw that Barf was doing like 1 or 2 copies for the Hydras, and he's the expert.
Yeah, Spider
Also
Silk
for
Armor.
the insane Spider Silk Armor. Yeah, I mean, if they cast another one here, I guess at this point I think I'd let it resolve. But if they cast it like 2 turns ago, I would definitely counter second.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess if they had a Hydra here, that would be a way to break through, and Null saves me from that. Oh, I can't get that though.
No.
Oh well. I blocked with, or I attacked with every single flyer, so I don't have a flyer. So I could just die to this wildling now.
It's okay. We're definitely going to draw into a some kind of spell, right?
Yeah, surely.
What are you going to buff with your 2+1/+1 counters?
Nothing. I'm gonna be scrying.
Oh yeah, shoot. I
I'm,
forget there's a whole other side.
I understand, but I'm literally dead if this thing connects. So there's a cast down. Perfect.
That's great find.
So I'm actually gonna stack the seer first because I'll draw the cast down off the monarch. So I'm gonna fairy seer. I waste half a scry because I don't want to get rid of it. Oh, counterspell's so good too. But I need the cast down. I mean, I could chomp, but that just is wasting a fairy.
Yeah, I can't see your card choices because you're.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So it's probably safest to keep the counterspell here because the way I lose is if they get like a lead the stampede into something bit crazy.
Yeah,
so I'd probably keep the counterspell to draw.
Yeah, the other way you lose is another Avenging Hunter.
Yeah, good point. Which is a way that that means I don't have infinite time. I mean, I literally also only have 5 minutes on clock because I've been playing really slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is for a hunter or like a card draw spell exclusively.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the answer for the Hydra and the annul.
Yes. Well, there it is.
All right, there goes our shield.
Yep.
I also forgot that if they would have attacked in before you counterspelled, you would have been. Oh no, sorry, you got the 1/1 flyer now.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make their Hydra have to attack. Because I have Death Touchers, and so I can trade 1 Death Toucher for it, and it's their biggest creature.
Yes, 1 Death Toucher and another creature.
Well, I'll block with a Thorn and Augur, and it's only got 5 power, so it's only going to be able to kill one of them.
Right.
But yes, I will block.
Yes, I just don't want you to forget about the trample.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Very good point. I guess I should. I need to turn the start attacking, so I'm gonna just cast this down now. Be aggressive.
Makes sense.
I'm gonna draw a card because I need more counter spells. For insurance, Snuff Out's good.
Counterspell's great.
Yeah, that's great. Kill this right away. It's just the biggest
Sweet,
creature.
because now you can get in with the ninjas.
Yeah. So ninjas. I guess these still die. Thorn can go though.
Yep, I think the corner has been turned.
Seems like it. Am I up a game?
Famous last words.
I really hope so. Or at least having won a game.
Yeah, you won game 1, I think.
Okay.
Right?
That sounds right. I'm just like generous sense fine. I'll snuff that out.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
I love that you're playing this deck on stream while we're doing this conversation. I also think it's probably a challenging deck to play while we're.
Oh God, I was like, this is such a mistake. 100%. I was like, what did you just ask me? Sorry, I'm thinking if I should leave up Counterspell or play Augur of Bolas.
next time mono red.
Yeah. I just wanted it to be thematic. Okay, we got an Arms of Adar. I get to wipe their board.
Yeah. So yeah, no, this is great.
Oh no, they're gonna crack a food. Hey, look at that.
Yeah,
That was a fun
we got there.
We got there. Oh, that was crazy.
All right. Well, great. Well, thanks to everyone that stuck around for the rest of the games, and for the bonus content. Have a good one.
See ya.